Becoming is better than being. And that is why we consider ourselves to, at all times and at all costs, be a work in progress. It means that you are never complete, and there's always that room to make you something and someone better.
Yes, and in that room, they allow you to be comfortable with making mistakes and accepting yourself for who you are.
Yes, I agree that we can all agree that everyone in this room is a work in progress. Hi, I'm AX.
Well placed. I'm GK.
And I am Chrisem.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, it's good seeing you guys now that the weather has changed. Kenyans were complaining that they didn't want the sun anymore. Now they're complaining that it's too cold.
Who's complaining?
Hey, I'm seeing so many people wearing winter jackets like we live in the UK. It's like 20 degrees, guys. Come on. Anyways, so we're going to start off today by playing a game. Okay. This game has to do with really the theme of this episode, which is about icons, basically. So this game is called Who Am I? Okay. So Anna, our producer, has sent us a bunch of statements about these certain individuals, and then we're supposed to try and guess who they are. Okay. And she's given us a clue. They're all Kenyan. So I'm sorry, guys. It looks like I'm winning this one. They're all Kenyan, and they've all had leadership positions. Okay. So you all have them on your phone. If you want to read them, I'll read them once at a time, and then we guess and we go from there. Okay. So I once said, leadership is a privilege to better the lives of others. It is not an opportunity to satisfy personal greed. Who am I? You're supposed to say, who am I? Wait. Who am I? Okay,
Kibaki.
Now can I answer? Okay, so yeah, Kibaki, it's correct.
No, it's Moi Kibaki.
Moi Kibaki.
Moi Kibaki.
Moi Kibaki.
Yeah. So I'm correct.
We're giving that
You're
point.
correct.
Point AX. I'm realizing the problem because I'm reading it. I can't be able to answer quickly.
Yep.
So.
Okay, fine. I'll
That's
no,
okay.
we'll
It's
exchange.
okay.
We'll exchange.
No. I'll beat you anyway. Okay. I carried the Fimbo ya Nyayo with me. Who am I? Moi. Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi.
Did you not just say because you're reading you can't answer?
And I did it anyway.
Oh my God.
Okay, next one. Yeah, I'll give you guys time for this one. I was born named Kamau Gengi. Who am I?
Is he Jomo Kenyatta?
Correct. Chris,
You don't have to be so surprised.
I'm very surprised.
You don't have to be so
I'm not competing.
surprised.
AX is doing much better than I anticipated.
Stop
Okay.
Stop doing that.
Thank you.
I worked as at a Burger King in the US in the 1980s. Who am I? This one I'm also stumped.
Kenyatta.
Uhuru Kenyatta?
Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
Yeah, because he went to university in Amherst in the US, so
So he worked at a Burger King.
probably.
It's likely. I was actually going to guess Uhuru Kenyatta only because 1980s. The other guys I would have guessed were like 60 in the 1980s. Okay, next one. I hold a master's degree in mechanical engineering from Germany. Who am I?
You know this one.
Germany.
Yeah.
From Germany.
This has to be Raila Odinga.
Yes.
Raila Amolo Odinga. East Germany, to be precise.
That's how you get the point.
And finally, this one looks like I am half Maasai and half Goan. Ooh, who am I? I know this one, but I'm going to give you guys
Half
the time.
Maasai and half Goan.
Half Maasai, half Goan. I'll give you guys the time for this one. Try and connect the
Half
dots.
Maasai and half Goan.
Yes. I'll give you a hint. He was a vice president.
It can't be George Saitoti.
No.
So it was half
Yeah,
Kikuyu and
that's-
half Maasai.
Yeah.
That's the only name that's coming to
A
my
VP.
mind.
He was a VP.
A VP that's half Goan.
Yes. You have 5 seconds.
Okay, answer for the
He
point.
was none other than Joseph Murumbi.
That was the name I was thinking,
Murumbi.
but I wasn't
Murumbi.
sure.
Murumbi is Goan.
Many people, I think it's because of the black and white pictures or something. Many people believe that
I thought it was a Kikuyu.
he was just black and he was a Kikuyu. Actually, he was half Maasai, half Goan.
Wait, why did they believe he was a Kikuyu? I feel like I'm
Because
about
Murumbi.
is seen in Kikuyu practice as well as it is in the Maasai.
Yeah,
So there you go. So there's one that
I've
you
learned
guys
something today.
definitely know. So today we're going to have a conversation for a few minutes about something that is probably the most important, not the most important, but a very big thing that's happened in the world over the last 2 weeks. So if you guys were Work in Progress fans a long time ago, we used to have this show where we talk about Twitter and trends on Twitter.
Okay.
Pre-AX, way pre-AX. And one of the things we liked about Twitter is you could look at how the sentiment of the world was interacting and people were talking. But then of late, a billionaire, the world's biggest billionaire,
The richest.
the richest man, Elon Musk, Some people say he has Kenyan heritage, South African heritage,
South African and Canadian. He's
Nobody says
also
Kenyan.
an
No,
American
actually on Twitter
citizen.
I saw guys claiming that he's Kenyan.
He's
to
not
some extent.
Kenyan.
Probably somewhere down the line
No,
he has
his
some parents
family
who came
owns
to Kenya
it.
for something.
No, his like what's it called? He's South African. I think his dad owns an emerald mine, if not in South Africa, in Zimbabwe. Like Elon, I will get into my feelings about Elon Musk when we get into the discussion because they're very strong. They're very strong.
Let's say African. Has African heritage.
Has African heritage.
Yeah,
and
but you can't also call him African because to be African is. We'll discuss this later.
that's
We'll
a
discuss
whole
this
other
later.
thing.
Yeah, we'll discuss
but
it
anyways,
later.
Elon Musk has now officially bought Twitter. He bought it for what is $44 billion.
Yes.
44 billion. I can't even do the calculation to what that means.
It's like $58 per share, something like that.
Yeah, something like that per share.
Per share.
And he's also kept quite a big holding on it. So Twitter has always been known as the platform with no control. Anything goes. It's literally the wild, wild west of social media. And politicians use it to push their messages across. And all these guys have a use for Twitter in a big space. It's a very important
It's called the
space.
public square.
There you go. So now that Twitter has moved from public to private, there's a number of emotions that have come into people, positive and negative. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to both of you and talk about what your view is on Elon Musk buying Twitter. Chris, you go first.
Yeah, it's best. It's for the best. Let me
Personally, I am very, very excited
taking notes.
that Twitter has gone to someone who's a proponent of free speech, because in America that's one of the key tenets in the national movement.
First Amendment.
First Amendment,
yeah.
Free speech. Express yourself. Say what you want. In Kenya, and I think everywhere, you say your rights end where mine begin, but you need to have rights, and one of them is free speech. So say what you want, do whatever you want. For a moment in time, Twitter became a place where it was reserved for a certain group of people.
Oh, come on.
That's true.
Oh,
That's
come
true.
on. It's not true. It's not true. It's just fear mongering.
Let me make my
Right, make
submission.
your point.
then
Make your
you
point. Make your point.
For some time, Twitter became a tool used by some people to cancel others because they said something they didn't like.
Yeah.
They posted a picture they didn't like.
It's true.
Right now, there's a guy who was right now. I forget his name. But he's a NASCAR driver. There was a crash by a half Asian, half American guy.
Oh my God.
And so
no.
he posted a meme from Family Guy.
No.
That Asian lady, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a joke that is bordering on being offensive, kidogo.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a joke.
Yeah.
Now, people use Twitter to cancel people like that. Now this person has a lot of heat his way. That NASCAR, the organization, has forced him to apologize, go for sensitivity training and all that. But right now, under Elon Musk, if everything he promises comes to pass, it means I can go there and post whatever it is that I want to post.
Yeah.
It's my own opinion. And it's okay. People like Donald Trump are going to come back, I hope. I think Alex Jones or something like that is going to come back.
Yeah. I don't know who that is.
The man is
Infowars.
selling brain
Infowars.
pills.
So-
Infowars,
What
yeah.
is a brain pill?
I agree with you. Before I let AX go, because clearly she's going to take us very far.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
going to
agree
take
with
you
you
very far.
to the point that free speech had really been hindered. And the question is, did social media platforms have the jurisdiction to do so? That's the question.
That
I
was
have.
always the
So like
question,
Twitter,
yeah.
For example,
And Facebook and YouTube.
Nigeria for like 6 months banned Twitter.
Yes.
Banned,
So did
completely
Uganda.
banned. Uganda also put Twitter on hold for a number of weeks.
Same with Facebook, yeah.
And also with Facebook, because they felt that now the social media platform was now involving itself in political matters, which is something that is beyond the purview of the social media platform, because it represents interests which are not necessarily Nigerian, not necessarily Ugandan. It largely represents American interests. And so when Elon Musk comes and says, we're going to give people the space to speak, whether it is Donald Trump, who, even as Kenyans living 10,000 miles away, we loved his tweets. KOT used to make fun
Speak
of
for
his tweets.
yourself.
Not that we agreed
You
with
and I,
it.
you and I.
It created
Speak for
very good
yourself.
comedy for a number of people.
Yeah, it's good content.
And so I think to that extent, free speech is very important. And Elon Musk pushes it. The question I have, which is then now I will cede the floor, is are there consequences for the things you say?
Thank you. That's what I wanted to say. Free speech does not mean freedom from the consequences. For example, if you insult my mother, you are free to say that, but I'm also free to slap you. Okay, free speech is not the same thing as freedom from the consequences of your speech. And my main worry with Elon Musk's free speech absolutism, which is the idea that everyone can say whatever they want to whomever they want, whenever they want, is that, and I'm still working it out in my own mind, but I do believe that living in a tolerant society means being intolerant of certain things.
Then
Right?
lies the question.
Right? Because obviously, like Twitter is great. It is also a public square, and because it is a public square, we do need to be careful about the things we are propagating. We do need to be mindful that the things we say do have ripple effects, and you are talking to real people, not just avatars on a screen, right? So does free speech, okay, so for example, when somebody lies on Twitter, someone like Alex Jones, and he says that like things are being put in the water to turn the frogs gay, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said that. It's a fantastic clip. You should like just watch Alex Jones for nothing else but banter. It's really funny.
Okay.
But when Alex Jones says something like that, and he's not really expected to corroborate it with any kind of evidence that can be then verified by a second and third party, is that fair?
Yes.
How is it fair?
I'll tell you how. Right now, we have conspiracy theorists, right? And they go and say the moon landing was fake, whatever, whether it's true or false. This person believes that, right? So if I believe it and I put it there, it's up to you to do your own research.
Yeah.
But we saw during COVID that these social media companies, they had like an iCard there, saying, oh, this information, if you want to learn more about this,
go to this.
Here are the resources, right?
Yeah.
So if I talk about something that they feel is
false,
false or
why not
misleading,
put those tags?
put those iCard there and do it.
No, but some people were arguing that those iCards in and of themselves violated their rights to free speech because it moderated their content. Because somebody else who was maybe saying something that was along the lines of the CDC or along the lines of the government, their speech wasn't blurred with a warning first. Their speech didn't have a tag saying this tweet might potentially be misleading. Whereas somebody else that was lying about COVID and saying that you can take bleach to cure the coronavirus and cure many other ailments, and you can also take bleach and put it in your children, that person's tweet was blurred, and they would argue, no, that's violating my free speech.
You see now, I'd rather they do that as opposed to just blacklisting this person and deplatforming him.
For example, since we're staying in America, kidogo, another social media platform was created.
Parler.
It's called The Truth Something. It's by Donald Trump himself.
It did not do well.
And it's not doing very well. It has like 500,000 people using it on a daily basis, which is it's okay. And the reason he did it is because of the hampering of free speech. My question is, when you remove these people, you think that you're removing their voice to deal with certain issues, when you're not actually doing it. There's so many other platforms. We live in a world where if you want something to get out to the world, it is going to get out to the world. So you saying you're banned helps nobody. It helps nobody. It doesn't hinder anything. So I feel the method I would have supported is that way. The way COVID was, this information may be misleading. If you want more information, why don't you click on this site? If you do that, then it's more important because you say you're educating the people rather than removing them.
Okay,
from that
and
space.
my argument is that even that some people view as a violation of their free speech rights.
So no, I don't agree with them.
No, especially because Elon Musk has said time and time again, I am a free speech absolutist. What is to say that his free speech absolutism does not include those what is the word I'm looking for? Those warnings that this information might be misleading. What if he believes you can say whatever you want, whenever you want? There should be no warning on your tweets. There should be no limit on it. I think that's the issue. There's a lack of clarity as to what Elon Musk intends to do with the platform.
Let it be as it is right now, because we all went to school.
Yeah,
I believe we all went to school.
We all didn't gain the same skills from school.
That's okay. That's okay. But if you're going to Twitter to get your information, that's on you. That's on you, right? Because honestly, that's not a school. That's a place where people are just going to just talk and just if you're going there to consume real knowledge, that's on you. But for me, as Chris M, I want to go there and say, you know what? The sun is 2 times smaller than the earth, and that's my own problem.
No, but
if that's what I believe, that's
I
my
agree
own
with you a bit there because, for example, even and I'd probably say the same with you guys. We now collect, as young people, our news and information not necessarily from
traditional
media sources. We collect them from the internet sources, like Facebook, Twitter, all these sources, Google. And what has happened is, if you want to get accurate information, there are platforms within those Twitter services and those in which you can get those accurate information. If you want to hear a Kenyan news story, you go and you find a Kenyan news site that is known, and you get your Kenyan news story.
KTN, Fifth Estate.
But you guys are also, thank you, but that's the point. Like everyone has, all these media sites have a Twitter account. They break their news on Twitter. If you speak to journalists, particularly like in the US, these guys have digital time quotas or whatever. like as part of their contracts, they have to release X number of articles online per week. They have to have X number of engagement per week. Like Twitter is where they do their work.
Yeah.
So in as much as you have a right as an individual to say, I'm just using Twitter for banter, I'm just using it to spread my thoughts and ideas, and that's fine with me, you cannot divorce your use of Twitter from the fact that Twitter is still a public square, a place in which media sites and politicians and famous people come to discuss a manner of issues that have real public policy impacts. And if I mind, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
How is Twitter a public square now when it is owned by an individual?
That is a question we're going to have to ask ourselves. I think if you watched his
What?
Elon Musk,
okay,
still public. It's open to everyone.
No,
he
he's
released
a private owner
One
now.
second. He released a TED Talk pre the purchase
Yeah.
of Twitter, and he released another interview, about 1 hour each. So if you want to watch them, they're there. They're long, and it's very interesting. And one of the things he said, he's in the process of getting it privatized. He also tried to do it in a way that made it as much as possible, in which as many shareholders as possible still remain within the company and as diverse as it is. So that's sort of as a way to sort of cushion himself, or cushion the people, help people still air their views. Yes, it does become a problem, because if he says Twitter off and he clicks his fingers, Twitter off.
He's a private owner.
However, we've also survived in a Facebook, Instagram world for the last 20 years when, to be honest, they've also had that control. And it has never been publicly owned. They have always been privately owned.
No, Facebook. Well, technically, Facebook is publicly owned. It's just that Mark Zuckerberg controls a majority of the really nice shares, the shares that let
Make
you decide,
decisions.
what decisions to make. So it's publicly owned, but it's really private.
But people are still using it, isn't it?
Yes.
People are still using it, but the reason why I'm worried about
Is your
it-
issue that it's privately owned, or it's privately owned by Elon Musk?
No. My issue is that it's privately owned because of how Twitter markets itself as a public space, as a public sphere. How can you reconcile that classification with the fact that it is now owned by a private owner, knowing all that we know about what private ownership does to social media sites? For example, in Australia, when the Australian government wanted to add new publication rules and publication guidances for Facebook,
yes, I remember
Facebook responded by shutting down its services in Australia. They said no one gets Facebook at all. And it backfired on them, to be honest.
Is
It really
Netflix
did.
publicly owned?
Yeah.
Now,
Oh my
here
God.
lies the problem. Yeah? If Netflix is publicly owned, why then did they punish Russians because of the Russian invasion into Ukraine? Over 700,000 Russians can't use that
Access
service
Netflix.
Yes.
because their country went into war with Ukraine. Why are you
Because-
punishing them? And it's
Okay.
publicly owned, by the way. So
Okay, I don't understand how one links to the other.
it does. Because
No.
you're talking about it's public, and if this is public and private is worse. This publicly owned company is punishing Russians for the mere reasons that they are Russians, not because they voted to go to war or individually they wanted to go to war, because the government made the decision. And that's okay.
That's not right either.
Okay, so it being publicly owned and privately owned, that's neither here nor there.
No. It
So,
is still a question we have to consider because whenever something is publicly owned, it does have certain government regulations in force that kind of motivate and incentivize certain actions. There's a lot more that the shareholders and stakeholders can do to force the company to perform and do certain actions. Meanwhile, when it's privately owned, the buck stops with Elon Musk.
I actually prefer that. When you're beholden to some people, you will operate their whims also. They'll be like, for us, we don't even like Russia, so please just do something.
Wait. The
So
whims
what-
of a group are to you more dangerous than the whims of a single individual
Yeah.
whose mind you cannot know.
I prefer it. Elon Musk, for me, has done a lot for this world.
In a positive way.
In a positive way. He's led innovation.
It wasn't him that invented Tesla. He just is very good at marketing.
Fine. SpaceX, his company is doing a lot of good work.
Yes.
I mean,
reusable.
It is true. It is
He's doing a lot of good work.
Okay,
I think we are looking at free speech and what it will. Let me be honest right now.
Okay.
Free speech. The reason as to why people hate free speech is because free speech doesn't care about feelings. It cares about facts, right? I'll say something that is very hurtful, which is true, but because you don't feel good about it, you now start attacking me. Free speech is that I'll say something that is hurtful but true.
That's an
and that's what
aspect
I
of
want.
free speech. I don't think it's the full.
People don't want that. If you say
Don't
That's
say
not
it's the total
true.
thing. It's an
That's
aspect.
not
That's like
true.
40% of free speech.
that's the main reason people don't want free speech.
That's not
because
true.
it will be very hurtful to certain people.
But it can
That's
also be
not tr-
inaccurate.
Thank you.
But is it free speech? Am I guaranteed that right in the Constitution?
Yeah, okay, so Christian, what I'm going to do for both of you is I'm going to make us end on a polite note by asking you guys a question I hope that you will agree upon. Okay? We've seen Facebook and now under Meta. When it went down, Kenyans and people around the world suffered significantly.
Until it got good.
When it went down, when it dropped, Twitter now is owned by a privately owned individual who's worth 200 and something.
He's worth more than Kenya.
Worth more than Kenya. So now you have these billionaires like Amazon. Amazon is now
Jeff
coming into
Bezos.
Africa for Jeff Bezos. You have Elon Musk. You have Bill Gates. And my question to you is, these social media platforms and these big tech companies like Google as well, have they become almost more powerful than the setup of international community, the state and international organizations?
Yes.
Have they become more powerful? Will we
Yes.
soon become more beholden to them instead of beholden to our own governments?
Yes.
What makes you think that?
Because of how much data they control. They control a massive amount of data, and they have the power to manipulate user action. Facebook has been doing it for years without your knowledge. You can actually learn more about this on Fool Me Once. It's on Fifth Estate. But no, plug aside. No, Facebook for real has been manipulating user interaction on its platform for decades. And right now they're doing it just to drive engagement. But what if they started being a little bit more political?
Yeah.
What if they started driving use on Facebook towards certain political action? Then it becomes an issue. But that possibility exists, and that is what makes social media in general, and the internet as well, quite dangerous.
Okay, Christian?
That's my 2 cents.
The internet is a very lovely place. And for you to enjoy
Where
the
have you
internet, you need to be free to use it, right?
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, as essential as social media is, it's not necessary. If you feel it's going a particular way which you're not happy,
You can dump it.
log off.
Yeah.
People have done it, and they're still here, right? As to whether they are getting more control than states, maybe. Maybe is that such a bad thing?
Yes.
We all of us, when you logged on, I don't think it's a bad thing, because people don't trust the state, right? But the state, you give them your information, whether you want to or you don't. You have to, right?
Yeah.
Social media, you willingly give them your information.
It's not willing.
It's willing. When
It's
you
not
log on
willing.
and they tell
No,
you,
but there's no
informed
informed consent. Do you read those privacy contracts?
Now, whose fault is that?
Theirs. They deliberately write these really long contracts that are super hard to read and decipher on purpose, so that you as a user are intimidated into just saying yes, because it's a big scary legal document. There are studies on this.
So I go to court and I tell the judge, "Hey, judge, man, these people."
I mean,
it was so long, I was intimidated.
No,
I just pressed.
No.
Okay.
Like, no.
So
but
release me from Nini.
No. But there is. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But like, isn't there not like a contractual principle that says that like a person has to be able to like understand this contract? That has to be fair, and also contra preferentum. It will be interpreted against the person who wrote it.
Yes.
Right. So
Do we read? That's my problem. Do we read?
But can we read?
If you can't read, don't go on social media.
Okay, so that is
Don't
where we're
go.
going to end the discussion on social media. This looks like it'll be a rolling conversation. A lot more information is going to come to us in the next few months, next few years, and we'll continue to touch on the storyline as we go.
Yes.
So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and conclude with one final icon. Welcome back to Work in Progress. And now for us to conclude,
Yes.
as we said in the beginning of this episode, it's all about icons. And as Kenyans, this is the first time as Work in Progress that we'll have aired an episode after the passing of Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki. By the way,
R.I.P.
it was only until I was like 20 that I found out his name was Emilio Stanley. Me, I always knew him as Mwai Kibaki. Yeah, no one ever knew him as Emilio
Maybe most of us
Stanley.
didn't.
So you've only known. Wow, that's such a short time that you've only known
been
that.
it's only been a few. I'm not gonna let you guys know my age.
Yeah,
but
that's.
it's
I
only been
was going to.
a
I was
certain
going to
amount of
expose you, but I
period
didn't
that
want
it's
to.
been since I've known his name was Emilio Stanley.
Not that
And
long.
so what we're gonna do is we're just in appreciation. We're gonna talk about key historic times, key historic milestones he did. You guys can chime in when you want. I'll give in 2 pieces, and then you guys see if you want to add anything else if we have the time. So the first thing is his relationship with Tom Mboya and as well Jaramogi Odinga. In the 1940s and 50s, Kibaki was touted to be, if he stayed in academia, by one guy, a former World Bank president, the future president of the World Bank. Like he was major. And he was scouted away by a former Mangu schoolmate, that is Tom Mboya, who only reached Form 2, Mwai Kibaki finished, and Jaramogi Odinga, to bring him back to come into the service, where he worked as the National Executive Officer of KANU. And he did a lot. And in fact, funny thing is, people talk about him being a divisive character, and of course we know the bloody end in the 2007-2008. But on many times, he showed a very serious characteristic of unity. He was the only minister to attend the only Kikuyu minister to attend Tom Mboya's funeral. He's also the one who unveiled the statue decades later. Additionally, he was the only minister to go for the funeral of J.M. Kariuki, which we know those are the two key iconic assassinations in the 60s and 70s before Robert Ouko later.
You also have that, I think he went to a Ngugi wa Thiong'o's launch of Petals of Blood,
yes.
and he was the only government official to go.
And that's the book that got Ngugi wa Thiong'o exiled out. And the final thing is, I think he was politically cunning. People in the Mount Kenya region used to call him a term that is not very endearing. It was General Coward and General Kigwea. But actually, in terms of his timing, he must have been a master strategist, a master person in terms of how he came out and got the presidency. He was more a strategist than he was someone who waited his time. So anyways, that's where we're going to end the episode. Share with us your memories of Kibaki, some historic pieces of nice things that we'll find interesting to read about and talk about in the future. But thank you so much for watching Work in Progress, and we will be here with you next time.